Performing randomized trials on topics in disaster medicine is always difficult. Doubly so when you're trying to squeeze in your role as the principal investigator into your final year of medical school. My name is Jeffrey Franck. I'm a statistician and the CEO of Stat59. Today we got a chance to speak with Alaa El Bashtaly about her role as the principal investigator in a recent publication in the Journal of Trauma that answers the questions: can children effectively apply commercial tourniquets? So today I'm here with Alaa El Bashtaly, and we're going to talk about her newest paper. So Alaa is a medical student in her final year at the Universite de Montreal in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And we're going to talk about her paper, which is called Tourniquet Application by School Children, a randomized crossover study of 3 commercially available models, which sounds like a super interesting topic and really is. And maybe, Alaa, we'll start by just having you describe what you think is important about this study.
Well, the main idea behind the study was to see whether children could actually apply the tourniquets. And we targeted children because many studies have shown that they are able to perform CPR and first aid, and we wanted to know if they could use tourniquets. And basically, we want to empower the largest amount of people to be able to respond in a mass casualty event or on a day-to-day basis in order to decrease morbidity and mortality related to traumatic injuries. So by including children, we essentially increase that number of people.
Okay. Well, that's super interesting. And what did you find?
Well, we found that children were essentially able to use it, to use tourniquets efficiently, to use the right technique, they were able to apply the right amount of pressure that would stop bleeding in a real life scenario. But they preferred that they were better and that they preferred one of the 3 models that we tested, which is called the MAT, the Mechanical Advantage Tourniquet. And we think that they preferred it and that it was easier for them to use because it had a turnkey mechanism that was more instinctive to use and was much easier to use than the SWAT model, which was essentially an elastic, and the combat tourniquet, which is a little bit more complex, that has Velcro and that has kind of like a stick that you have to turn around to tighten it. So it was less instinctive and less easy for children to use it.
Okay, so that's super interesting. So you found that children were actually pretty good at being able to apply these devices.
Yes, yeah.
Was that surprising to you?
Well, not really, because children are they're quite agile and they learn fast. We were surprised that they were able to learn these techniques in such a short amount of time. We were quite limited in terms of the study time because we were doing it as an after-school activity, and we only had 2 hours essentially to fit the whole study in it, so the whole data collection. So they essentially had about 10 minutes to watch the video and to practice each tourniquet technique. So we were quite surprised that they acquired the information and they integrated it and were able to also have the dexterity to apply the tourniquets after such a short training. So that was the surprising aspect of the study. But because they were between 10 and 12 years old, we kind of assumed or thought that they would kind of have the same strength or dexterity as an adult or as an older teenager. So that it was kind of predictable, but it was more the speed at which they learned the technique that was kind of surprising. Yeah.
So, Ala, it's a really big, I think, a really big commitment to try to pull off a study that's this big and this intense, while also studying through you're studying through medical school. So, I'm curious as to what your goals were for this project.
Well, this project was kind of a sub project from a bigger informational campaign about hemorrhage control that we wanted to do in Montreal. And so I wanted to shed light on the pediatrics aspect of it, of empowering people to actually act and react in situations of mass casualty. And my personal goal was to actually pull off the logistic aspect of it, because it took a lot of thinking, it took a lot of planning and adjusting. And I think this whole project kind of reflects many of the things that I like about emergency medicine, which is a lot of adaptability, flexibility, creativity, and doing things in a limited amount of time under pressure.
Right.
So this is kind of my personal goal in there, and it also joined with my passion for disaster medicine. So this was also another aspect of the study. So capacity building and empowering lay people to be able to help each other and take care of each other. So by providing them with new competencies. So these were kind of the main goals of the study for me.
So, Ala, you and I worked, I think, pretty closely on your project right from the beginning, right from the ideas to forming the methodology, data collection and analysis, which is, I think, something that worked really well for you and your team. And I was just wondering if you had any advice for other researchers who might be taking on the role of the principal investigator for their first big project.
My main advice would be to form a solid team. I began this project being the only student working on it, and actually put out a first draft of the protocol and was submitted, but it wasn't accepted by the ethics committee. And thankfully, I did not let that discourage me. And instead, I went on and recruited two of my closest friends and also great research assistants to help me with that. And that's essentially one of the biggest factors that contributed to the success of this project, is that I had a great team supporting me, from my supervisors to my co-investigators as well. And my second advice would kind of be related to that, is not to be discouraged. So multiple versions of your protocol will be produced and multiple ones might be rejected, but don't despair, because your idea is very good and it deserves to be researched. So just carry on, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
So, Ala, this must have been a really busy year for you, finishing up a really big research project, and then you're in your last year of medical school. So, what's next for you?
Well, I'm hoping to begin a residency in emergency medicine, specializing in emergency medicine. I hope to become a leader in the field. I really want to be involved in all aspects of it, the teaching, the research, clinical work. And I want to carry on doing interesting research, especially my areas of interest are disaster medicine, hemorrhage control, and also just the continuum of care between the emergency room and the intensive care unit. Just optimizing that, especially in times of especially in terms of disaster management and planning. So that's pretty much my 10-year plan. Let's just say that.
All right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for spending some time with us today to talk about your study, which just been published in the Journal of Trauma. And congratulations
Thank
and good
you.
luck with your next projects.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So today we saw how Alaa El Bashtaly was able to leverage her passion for emergency and disaster medicine and a solid team to produce a randomized study, all while studying for medical school. My name is Jeffrey Franck. I'm a statistician and the CEO of Stat59. If you would like to see how the Stat59 web app can help you manage your team, whether you're local or remotely located, please come visit us at our website at www.stat59.com.